Hey, what's happening, guys?
Welcome to episode 55 of A Fern Between Us.
We are two of the four owners of Winery. I'm Jesse.
Long pause. Did you forget who you were?
I was trying to decide what to do. I was going to change it up on you, but
Oh, clever. Mr. Padberg this time? Anyway, I'm Michelle. All right. We have a fun show. It is Earth Day.
Hey, Earth Day.
Yes.
That's our new favorite holiday at Winery.
That's what I was thinking. Since we are Buy a Bottle, Plant a Tree, our partnership with Eden Reforestation Projects is really phenomenal. You can go to our website, learn all about that program, but every single bottle that you purchase plants a tree. So even if you're going to Total Wine and buying your wine, as long as you're buying ours, you're planting trees, which is really, I think, supremely cool.
You get to feel good about yourself, even
right, making a difference.
You know, it's actually an obligation now. You know, you have to plant the tree today.
Yeah. Oh, I like that.
You know what I mean?
I need to do my service for the world.
For the greater good.
Yes, I like it. I like it a lot. I think that's fabulous. They're an amazing program, and they're also creating jobs in these impoverished areas where they also need to be planting these trees, but helping the people too. So it's really a win-win. Yeah. It's amazing.
All their locations are tropical or subtropical around the world. I think they said something like 40 or 50 different sites that they're working on. Madagascar is a huge spot for them, but you know, also like Kenya and Nepal and Haiti and just lots of places.
We actually have a little map thing that you can see and learn more about it, but the other thing is that's coming up is Mother's Day. Are you prepared?
Yeah, I started thinking about it just now, but we're going to be doing good.
Okay. Well, we have launched
when
the
is
Mother's
it? Is it
Day
next week?
special. No, we're a couple weeks out. It's the 9th.
The 9th of May.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
And so we're doing a different kind of package this time.
Ooh.
We are offering a bottle of wine, a Riedel glass, and a bottle stopper.
What?
Yeah, as for $19.99.
What?
Yeah, it's like a ridiculously amazing price. And so
That's
you
ridiculous.
get to choose one of three wines: our Riesling, our Rosé of Sangiovese, or our Sangiovese. So
Cool.
white, pink, or red.
There you go.
Right?
What more can you ask for?
I know. Let's make Mom happy. A good glass to drink the good wine out of.
So what do you got for us?
All right. We are tasting the Refosco because we are looking at an entire episode based on aging. So everybody has lots and lots of questions about how aging works in the winery, how it works at home, what are we supposed to do? Are we supposed to be looking for this? It's, it's a complex issue for a lot of people that are just getting into wine and people that have been into wine for a long time. It's a lot of confusion.
It's confusing to us too. Not the aging process itself, but like, what are you supposed to do?
Right.
It's hard to know that.
Well, and Refosco is one of the grapes that lends itself to what you and Chris have talked about as kind of easy winemaking, but it ages superbly.
Yep.
So I always feel like, I think that's one of the wines when we pull out of the library that always is a star. It shines and several years ago, we had a 2004, right?
Yeah, I think
Refosco, or was it even younger?
It might have been. I think it was 15 years. No, it was a 2004 Refosco that we opened. We keep a library, some amount, but we're also confused on how much to keep. So we try to keep a case or two of each wine that we make, but then you also don't have enough room for it, and then at some point lots of wines do start going bad. So we try to figure out. But we try to put a case aside or two of each wine, and then periodically taste them so that we know what's going on and make notes and stuff like that. And Refosco, I think we had it was a 15-year-old Refosco in 2019.
Yeah.
And that was our star. That was our star. I mean, our Cabernet really ages well.
And the reason why we were checking the tasting of several of our library wines in 2019 was because we were invited to do a very special media event out in New York City, where we decided that a interesting way to showcase our winery in front of 30 of the most influential wine media was to actually do a vertical tasting. So same grape, different years. So from the same winery. So really unusual choice. It definitely made Jesse a little nervous, but being able to stand out when you're pouring with other wineries is key. We all kind of have the same story, we're all family owned, trying to make this most amazing wine on the planet,
Yeah.
So we decided on the Cabernet, which was just incredible. But we would have done the Refosco, but we didn't have multiple vintages. We didn't have enough to take and
we
pour
had like
for everybody.
04, 05, 06, and then we didn't have like 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and then we did have 13, 14. So because we don't, we're trying, but we're not doing as good as we could. But anyway, we did have I think we brought an 05, an 09, 2013,
a 13,
and then a 16.
Yeah, and it was
to this
spectacular.
Dinner. Yeah, it was amazing, and people were blown away. It was awesome.
Right?
I love that. But yeah.
So one of the questions that we have is about aging in the winery. So how do you decide? How do you and Chris, when you taste a wine, it's new, you've just crushed it, it's just come through fermentation. You're now deciding which does it go into new oak, old oak, stainless, how long, and then why would you wait longer on some grapes than others?
All right. So
lots of questions in one.
This gets down to the crux of what makes a wine age. Should we talk about? I mean, I don't know what the questions are. So should we talk about what the attributes, how a wine changes over time, or
I think
is that later?
I think that's absolutely important, and I think that if that illuminates your answer right now, do it.
Okay. So
just don't make it boring.
Right? So you're going to have to tell me some things too, from your perspective, because you're the master taster, but...
Master taster.
But basically...
Master taster runs Border Town.
What aging does is it just provides oxidation and overall melding of the flavors that are already there in a wine. So, and a softening of any harshness that happens. So it becomes rounder. It becomes oxidized, like the brownness on an apple. You taste the difference if you take a bite and then take a bite after like 5 or 10 minutes. It's already turned brown. There's an oxidation thing that happens there, and it's not always for everybody that pleasurable. Some
people really don't like aged wines. So that is something to learn right away.
Yeah, and I would suggest if you're not into this yet, I would suggest trying 5-year-old wines and then trying 8-year-old wines and then trying 15-year-old wines. If you jump right to the 15s, you're going to be like, I don't get it and I don't like it. But
and they're absolutely.
You lose the freshness. You start losing the fruitiness.
It becomes more dried fruit aspects. You get more of.
They taste more like raisins than grapes. They or instead of plums, it's prunes, and so like and then the oxidative thing, and that could be a flaw too. Like in white wines, if you have an oxidized white.
Oh yeah.
That's considered a flaw, like hardcore, and especially if it's young. If it's aged and it has a little oxidation, then people say, well, that might be meant. But
Yeah.
it's how it's supposed to be is what you're looking at, and if it's a 2-year-old wine and it's brown, that is not how it was meant to be, and that is a flaw.
Gosh. Okay, so this is kind of like spattered all over the place. So
I know.
can you go into specifically why you and Chris choose to age some wines longer than others? Let's make more specificity.
So then, all right, so there's certain factors that lend themselves to ageability. Tannins are probably the main one, that if you have too many tannins in the young wine, you need to let it age so that the tannin chain, like the tannins bind together. This is chemistry, but the tannins bind together, and
dirty.
And then on either end, the only way a tannin chain ends, like more tannins will keep getting attached, and they'll just fall out of the wine if you don't have an oxygen. So on either end of a tannin, they stop that chain lengthening process by capping with an oxygen. So therefore, the shorter you can, the more oxygen we give them earlier, the more oxidative things you're going to taste right away, benefits of it, and the more tannins will be retained in the wine. So
which gives you the ability to age, because you also, while you might not want to build a wine that you have to age because it's undrinkable in the beginning, you also want to look at how to make sure that this wine will get better with age.
That's right. Exactly. So certain wines have bigger, more tannins just there naturally. And then we also add a little bit of tannins during fermentation for this process. We also oak age, which adds oak tannins to the wine. Even if it's not a flavor thing, it's a mouthfeel thing.
So adding tannins, you mean like some...
literally grape tannins that have been extracted. They're just we'll put it like a... Chris knows the amounts, but it's like, we'll put a certain number of grams of, but call it a cup. We put a cup of tannins in our fermentation or whatever, and that will become part of the overall...
so does that just encourage what's already happening to be more exemplified? Right?
Yes,
during fermentation,
no, it
you're
does not add
looking at
any of its own flavors.
Right, that's actually what I was trying to get at. It's not the same thing as flavor additive.
Right.
So that's important that we distinctly make sure that people don't get confused.
Exactly. This is more or less, we're doing it for stability overall. We want the wine to be stable and have all the components that it would normally have in it.
And that is a big part of aging.
Exactly. So if it's balanced, if it's a well-balanced wine, it's got good acidity, good tannins, and a decent, an alcohol to match those two things, then the wine should age. If it doesn't have any other mortal flaws that are going to cause it to go bad in the bottle.
So there's certain grapes that are more tannic.
Yeah.
So those are the grapes that you choose to age longer?
Pretty much, yes. And we, in my estimation, I would love to be aging some of these wines 2 years longer before we even release them. We, anybody in business is bound by financial strains and trying to make the business on paper make sense. If we aged all our wines 20 years, we wouldn't have anything to sell for 20 years, and we'd be out of business before we could release those.
Right.
So we're, and it's all, and it's an averaging game and this and that. But eventually, I'd like to be at aging our wines maybe another year, 6 months, a year longer before we release them on average. And I think we'll get there.
Every time
it's a space constraint too. We don't have enough space to house all this wine.
Yeah. So as you can see, one question can lead to many others. So if there's something that we touched on and didn't really fully go into that has sparked a question, make sure to message us and we will get to you on that one. But
often in the old days, the way people did this was they would say, this is my reserve. So they'd have a Cabernet and then they'd have a Cabernet reserve. So your Cabernet they'd release after a year and a half. The reserve they would release after 2.5 years or something like that from the same vintage. probably even the same grapes almost always, treated very slightly differently, but we have not done that because I feel like we have as many grapes or wines on the list as we need. So we're just trying to treat all our wines more like a reserve, but it's not always possible.
It's not. So another question that we have is aging in the bottle at home.
Yes.
How do you know when you've bought a wine that it's meant to age, and then how long you're supposed to age it for?
Okay, I would say my general rule of thumb is all wines are being sold a little bit too young. I think,
but a lot of wines are meant to be drank young too, which is also a misconception.
With 95% of your whites and rosés, drink them right away for sure. They're ready. Time in the bottle is not going to help them. They're fresh and lovely and awesome now. Do that. I would go the opposite with, well, depending on the price range you're buying in, but say you're buying wines under $25. Say you're buying wines under $12, just drink those right away. If you're buying wines over 12 or $15, ideal.
One of the things I think is important is that you look at the winery that you're purchasing from, and really then you can go on their website and actually contact the winery if you're considering aging it. Say, I have a 2014 cab from you. How long do you think that it is going to be able to lay down for?
Should I drink it now? Should I hold it for another 5,
Exactly. And each winery is going to be able to tell you more specifically what you should do. So we have some of those tips on our website. Most other, under the winemaker's specifications.
Nice.
But other wineries do too. So you don't even have to actually, talk to anybody. You could just slyly go into the website and check things out.
Exactly. And some, the weird thing is, like, maybe Cabernet and Refosco from Refosco Winery always ages 10 years and it's great. But we may have a vintage that where we're going to say, on that one vintage, 5 to 8 is probably more than you need. Let's just drink it. And it's not that it's bad. It's just that it's
doesn't have the components to last a little longer. It's
more susceptible to frailty as it ages, or it can possibly go bad or whatever. So I don't know.
Because that's the fear, right? Is that people are afraid that they're going to invest in an expensive wine, they're going to age it, and then they're going to open it and it's going to be horrible. So
it's not a poor man's game. I think if you're afraid, if that $30 means more to you, like if you're willing to gamble that $30 you spend on that bottle, a little bit, like call it a 75% chance it's going to taste amazing and 25% chance that me aging it made it worse. If you're willing to gamble that $30, then this is the kind of thing that you can do. If not, just drink it.
The other thing is, which is not one of the questions, but I feel like should be addressed, is that you should also be keeping your wines on their side to keep the cork moist.
Or upside down.
Yeah, or upside down. But ideally on their side, because if you flip it over and then you're wanting to serve it, the sediment issue is difficult, and it's better if it's on its side for that, but in a dark, cool place. So your closet's usually the best place, actually.
Or your basement, if you have one.
Yeah, but don't have it near the stove, don't keep it on top of your refrigerator, and don't have it standing up.
And don't have it in a light place.
Yeah, lights actually affect your wine. So you don't want to have it on display, which kind of sucks because that's kind of what you're doing, right? Like, you're like, hey, I got a really special bottle here, and you want people to be able to see it and enjoy it and be tantalized to maybe they get to come over and drink it with you.
Right. So are you on the in crowd or not really?
Right. All right. So another question is, how does racking work? Does it add age?
Yes, it adds age because it adds oxidation.
You want to describe what racking is?
Oh, yeah, of course. So racking is where you put somebody on this thing.
Oh,
no. No, racking is where you...
Ay.
So we're aging our wines in the winery, and over time, so that, say it's sitting in a tank, or if it's sitting in a barrel, either way, you've got this much wine, all the little particulate matter over time, like the grape solids or the tannins the chains got too long, the color, all these things settle out over time. Anything that's all these little chemical reactions are going on over time. So you get a sediment at the bottom, and so you're taking this, and the juice, the wine on top of it is just clear, and then you're taking that off without sucking up the sediment that's at the bottom. So we do this once right away, right? You know, we press our grapes. Then we have wine, but it's like a cloudy wine. With like a month later, we pull it off because there's a lot of grape solids in there, and the grape solids are going to cause it to go bad. So then you've got this semi-cloudy wine that will settle out over time. There's still active yeast, so you get active yeast hulls, like the shell, the dead shell of the yeast cells, stuff like that. Anyway, at some point, 6 months, 8 months, 12 months later, we will rack that again before...
So each time you're racking, you need to be super careful about oxygen coming in contact with the wine, because that's what's really going to age the wine, is the oxygen. And there's no way to have it be in a bubble.
Right, exactly. So when we pump this out and we pump it into a new tank, there's ambient air and it's getting exposed to oxygen a lot. So that does add oxygen, does age the wine. I don't mind a certain amount of that. I'm absolutely not trying to overdo it. Like you don't want to release a 2-year-old wine that's been aged too much, you know, but you do want it to be a little softer and rounder, so you do want some amount of oxygen in it at that point. Once it's in the bottle,
it's such a delicate dance, and that is also what I think is so fascinating about
the difference between lots of wineries is like how much
oxygen,
and winemakers, how much oxygen is in that wine by the time it goes in the bottle, or by the time you buy it, like it's been in the bottle for 6 months and you buy it. That's the difference between different wineries in lots and lots of cases. And there's ways to get oxygen out of wine, which we don't do that much, or haven't done really that much. But there's certain varietals that would really benefit from not being exposed to oxygen for us. So,
whites or reds too?
The two I'm thinking of specifically are reds, but all whites, of course, you know, and rosés.
So is the reason why you're not doing that because we don't have the money, or is it because it's not something that you are wanting to deal with yet?
It's not something I want to deal with yet. We feel like our wines are pretty close to there in lots of ways. We keep making small improvements, and this will be one of those small improvements sometime in the next couple of years. But it's not something we do currently, and it's okay that we don't. But we would have to bubble nitrogen through it, because nitrogen, if you put it in the bottom of the tank, bubble it for, you know, however it's actually, I know the calculations, it's like 5,000 gallons.
We don't need to know specifics. Blah, blah, blah. Okay. I think everybody's probably falling asleep already.
So yeah, exactly. But anyway, so you can remove that oxygen. But anyway,
gotcha.
I don't remember what the original question was.
You described it. It was talking about racking and whether or not that added age.
Yeah.
As a side component, and it's not one of our questions, but I just wanted to throw out there with age and competitions. So international wine competitions.
Yeah. How do they view it?
Some where you are, they work very differently. Each competition is unique.
Right.
There are some that are more standardized, but there are some that want to know the score of the wine right now. So is it a gold drinking right now, even if you think it could be a gold in 2 or 3 years, it's not a gold right now. So sending wines into certain competitions too young can be detrimental to your winery scores. I mean, none of it's detrimental, it's fine. But other competitions, especially those that I was able to be a part of in Europe, they specifically say, it says on your sheet, this is a Bordeaux wine. It is from 2017. So you know where it should be right now.
For a 2017
For a
Bordeaux.
2017 Bordeaux. And is it on track?
Is it on track?
Because
so this is a gold medal wine.
Age. Because
whenever
we can
it's going to be released, or
yes,
whenever
it's not even released yet.
Right.
Exactly.
Oh, man.
So that's a completely different thing. And I feel like being able to ascertain it's coming into its own, it's starting to meld some of those harsh components.
Yep.
It's moving forward, but it still has those components in order to keep aging. Those are things that we're looking for as judges.
Yep.
So that's a strange thing. Okay. We got more here.
Okay.
So restaurant pricing.
Yes.
Why is older vintage so much more expensive? Can you get into the pricing of a wine?
So as a winery, in thinking about pricing, every year you age your wine, you're supposed to raise it by 14%. The cost of the wine by 14% in order to cover your
just storing it, right?
It's a risk calculation. So they're saying that there's a I think. I'm trying to. So there is a
calculation
because it may go bad.
Right.
Your chances of it going bad.
Oh, right. And then you can't bottle it and sell it at all.
In order to make the same amount of money on it, you need to raise it by 14% every single year in order to cover the losses that you will definitely incur aging all your wines for an extra year.
So that's an interesting component when you think about racking. So racking, especially done in one of these more traditional methods, leaves some amount of wine behind. So there's some amount of built-in loss every time you rack, every time you're aging and moving it into a new vessel. Yeah. So is that also part of the calculation?
I believe so, yeah. I think so I mean, an older wine is just going to cost more because of that.
Okay.
And so if you go 14% on 1 year, that's, and then you're 14% on top of that, and then 14% on top. It's not just adding 14s, you're adding exponentially. It gets more and more expensive. So like if it's 3 years older, you're looking at least half again as much,
Well, and that's why when they bring the bottle to you and they show it and it looks really like, oh, look at the wine I ordered, and you're like, oh, it's fine, pour it. It's actually so that you read the vintage date.
This has happened to us.
And you know that that's the one you ordered, because if it's a different date, it will cost
way more.
Amazingly more.
This happened to us one time. We ordered the, let's call it the 2015, and they brought the 2013 out. And we're like, oh, yeah, we just looked at the name of it says Vivac 2013, great. We'll take it. And it was like $100, and we were expecting to pay $40 or something like, we were
way
also
less. We really surprised at the caliber of the wine. We kept talking about how good it was, what an incredible price for this wine.
And it might have been more like 4 or 5 years older or something.
It was significantly older, and
it was way out of our price range at that point too. We were like,
man.
Dude, really an extra $50 on a bottle of wine? That's crazy.
Yeah, they were very understanding and sweet, but also you just have to pay for the wine.
Yeah. And we
That's
did.
It.
And we actually didn't mind paying it because we
thoroughly enjoyed the.
We sat there enjoying it. I'm glad we enjoyed it as much as we had.
I know, right? I'm glad that we were, geeky about it.
Yeah.
All right, so we've got some fun-filled questions too. If I drink more wine, will I live longer? Mm-hmm. I love this.
Totally. It's
yes.
You're
buy more wine.
You're a better person. and happier and love enjoying things, you
You're
will
a
live
better
longer for
person.
sure. Your blood's a little thinner, which helps with the, it clears the heart stuff a little bit, so you got an extra 5 or 6 years on that. And then your heart's bigger. You're not if you got an oversized heart, but you're just a good person. So they're like, yeah, I would say yes.
Yeah, right. Well, and they did do a study on Pinot Noir, and it has more resveratrol. Is that
Resveratrol.
the
Resveratrol. Sorry.
We're not going to ask the dyslexic to say that. So, yeah. But there's more of that in Pinot Noir, in the skins, evidently.
And in reds in general.
Yes. But of all the reds, Pinot supposedly has more. So it has actually been called the Fountain of Youth wine.
Oh.
So...
Good marketing, maybe.
Well,
except for I've never heard of it, so maybe bad marketing. But
from whoever made that up.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll co-opt it. Vivac made that up. Here's another one. How do I reverse aging? Because I did say we're going to have a topic on aging, which is really funny. So thanks, Scott, for sending this in. But he meant it, personally. How do you reverse aging? Botox, I think. Botox, chemical peel.
Yeah. Just get a new hobby. I don't know.
Oh, that's cute. That's a very healthy version.
I've got a weird side note on reverse aging in wine. All right, so remember the movie Sideways? Mm-hmm. The guy went into his cellar to pick out a bottle of Chardonnay to send. Oh, he had already sent it to the competition. It was a Chardonnay, so it's white.
To the French blind tasting.
To the French blind tasting, tasting against the best of the French
1972, vintages. Yeah.
So what's going on out there?
I don't know.
People driving by. Okay, that doesn't matter. Sorry. So he goes into his cellar. And there is
it's all turned color.
Yeah, it's all turned brown. And then, 3 or 4 days later, it was not brown anymore. And so he was wondering what. But in the moment, he thought it had all gone wrong, and he thought this was his best vintage ever, and blah blah blah. Mm-hmm. There is such thing as a wine turning brown. In winemaking, we call this wine. Are you a green juice guy or a brown juice guy? So. In brown, you can get enough oxidation in a wine that the brown falls out, and you're left with the green wine. So that is basically reverse aging in the wine world.
That's so cool. Yeah. Oh, babe, I did not know that. Yeah. I love learning things from you.
Yeah. So if we're stuck with super oxidized grapes, they come in kind of brown. We can
do something about it.
We can let that oxidation thing happen and then pull it out. It'll happen naturally, but we can also help it with certain fining agents and stuff like that. So
that's one of the things is in the wine biz, you are never done learning. No. It's awesome that way. Okay, another question as we finish up. It's hopefully been entertaining and not too boring. We got into some pretty fine-tuning elements of this. But Oscar pairings. Oscars are coming up on Sunday, which is kind of like one of the biggest holidays at our house.
It really is.
So my family grew up in LA. A lot of them actually working at one of the studios. We've got many, many generations of LA family. So it's part of what we do is watch all the movies leading up, and then it's a all day on TV marathon.
Oh yeah, we start as soon as they have pre-red carpet anything.
They do that stupid. The puppies decide what the Oscar winners are going to be. It's horrible TV. It's horrible TV.
And love it.
It's so great. And so Oscar pairings. If you're talking about what to just simply drink while you're watching, bubbly all day.
Bubbly all day.
That's
and then rosé.
Oh yes, Yeah.
And then at some point the sun gets down and you can start with the reds.
Yes, and so I definitely think the opening special things. I also believe in dressing up.
Yeah,
I
even
know.
though we're in our house.
Yeah, and I know it sounds super silly, but it's really fun. And then you open something special and you feel like one of the stars as you sit there. And also try to watch some of these movies. They are phenomenal. What's been your favorite this Oscar season?
You know what it is. It's
I do. Nomadland.
No, it's not Nomadland. Please, Nomadland, don't win the Oscar this year. Nothing wrong with Nomadland. It's a great movie. Love Frances McDormand.
I feel like we were raised with Nomadland.
Yeah,
as like our.
We know all those people, and it's just not that exciting.
House.
But anyway, Pieces of a Woman were good.
Oh, Pieces of a Woman was great.
But I feel like
Promising Young Woman.
Promising Young. Is that the one?
That's the alcohol date rape one.
That was good too, but it's not my favorite.
Phenomenal.
I can't remember.
Are you not into it?
I don't have the list in front of me. You should have. You should have told me about this one. What's that?
Was it The Father?
The Faja. No, maybe.
The Father was phenomenal.
It was
if you haven't seen it,
really
it's
good.
such a different rendition of the Alzheimer's story that I really, really appreciaed. It was so beautifully done, really creative.
What's your favorite?
You know what I was surprised by was Judas and the Messiah.
The Black Messiah.
And the Black Messiah. Thank you. I thought that was really good, and I actually really appreciated. I'm sorry, I'm not thinking of his name. The actor's portrayal. He was very good.
Was it Chenoweth or something?
No, you're thinking of
Chadwick Boseman. Sorry.
Yeah,
no, that's right.
which is.
What was the one we watched right after Judas and Black Messiah? That was the one that I liked the best. No. Not Minari. I can't remember.
Minari was great.
Maybe it was The Father.
The Father was phenomenal.
The Father was phenomenal. Maybe that was it.
And Minari was great.
I think it was The Father. I think God, that Anthony Hopkins is so good.
Right. I mean, it was really good, and I kind
in different ways,
didn't
like
want to watch another Alzheimer's movie.
I shed a tear both for him and for the people around him. You know,
it was so good.
It's rough.
All right, so if you were to pair a wine with that movie, what would it be?
I don't remember. Alzheimer's. No.
I don't know why I think he's so funny, but I do.
I mean, it's Anthony Hopkins, and I don't know if they referred to wine necessarily in the movie, but I would say Chianti.
Yes! Oh, I was so excited to say
and
that.
our version of Chianti is the Sangiovese. So
Yes,
I would pair it with our Sangiovese.
Yeah, I think that's super funny because, of course, Anthony Hopkins was in Silence of the Lambs. Mm-hmm. The great quote is that he would pair the liver with a nice Chianti. Yes.
You were... the movie you were looking for was The Man Who Sold His Skin. It's up for Best International.
Oh, yes.
That was a good one, too.
The Man Who Sold His Skin.
Yes.
That was very good.
I mean, I'm way against tattoos, but this was pretty sweet.
Obviously, we're highly tattooed. I loved that movie as well, but I kind of wanted it to not have a happy ending. I'm sorry if I spoiled that.
I don't know if it did. I mean...
It did.
Yeah,
and I kind of wanted murder. I also really thoroughly enjoyed a bunch of shorts. There were phenomenal shorts. So
this is the first year we've watched shorts, and they're totally rad. I mean,
highly
not
recommend
100% of the time, but you've only lost a half an hour sometimes, or 20 minutes sometimes.
So here's what I recommend: is that you maybe start the day with some bubbly.
Yeah.
Our good friends at Gruet make great bubbly.
Yep.
Then you move on to rosé of Sangiovese, then rosé of Cabernet, then. It's one of those things, progression, right? So then if you're looking to pair, I feel like a Cabernet, a classic is kind of one of those great see you through part of the night. And then you got to enliven your palate again, so you go back to the bubbly.
There you go.
Yeah, and then you can move on into the bigger, bolder reds.
For this, you're going to need a teenager in the house that you allow to drink.
Why?
Yeah, you just mentioned like 6 bottles of wine. It's brutal.
Oh, yeah. Monday drinking what you didn't finish.
Or maybe get together with some of your vaccinated friends and you can split many bottles.
Oh, that's a good idea. All right. So next week, we have light-bodied red wines for the spring weather. So that's going to be really fun, exploring that. What should you drink if you're sitting outside, it's warm weather, but you want a red? So
we got to let these people go, baby.
I know. I'm telling you what is happening next week.
All right, so what is it? Light bottle red. Okay, yeah, you got it. You're good.
Are you, like, not paying attention?
I am.
What?
I am. I just want you to hurry.
This is my life. I don't know. The other thing is we are going to take your most inappropriate questions. One of the best or most watched episode was when you guys sent in a bunch of sexy questions. So we're going to let you ask us whatever you want. It can be as inappropriate as you'd like. We'll see what happens. So that's next week. All right, guys. Thank you so much.
Cheers.